Hi, and welcome to this week's broadcast. Reviews give us the opportunity to step back. So they allow us to pause and reflect on the lens through which we view practice, and importantly, the lens through which we view older victims of domestic abuse. Often the mechanism for that reflection is a domestic abuse related death review. These reviews aren't simply about understanding a tragic death. They're about examining how systems responded, what opportunities were missed, and what we might do differently next time. Next week, I want to explore how inbuilt bias within individuals and systems can shape our responses to domestic abuse, particularly in older adults. But before we get there, it's worth pausing this week to talk about and consider the important connections between domestic abuse related death reviews and the Care Act 2014. So the domestic abuse related death reviews frequently highlight issues relating to the application of the Care Act. One recurring theme is missed opportunities to recognise and support carers. So reviews often identify situations where agencies failed to identify someone as a carer or didn't offer a carer's assessment, even when the circumstances clearly warranted one. Caring relationships can also create complex dynamics where care needs, dependency, and safety intersect. In some cases, the carer may themselves be experiencing domestic abuse. In others, the caring relationship may be become a context in which abuse occurs. And the Care Act places a proactive duty on local authorities to identify and support carers. And when this duty is applied effectively, it can act as a protective factor, potentially preventing situations from escalating to the point where a review becomes necessary. So reviews also frequently highlight systemic issues, and these can include the need for more comprehensive care assessments, as we've discussed, stronger professional curiosity, and better information sharing between, for instance, adult social care and domestic abuse services or health organisations. But another issue that occasionally emerges relates to self-funded care arrangements. So where individuals fund their own care, there may be limited oversight of how those care needs evolve over time. And without that oversight, risks can remain hidden. Risks that a proactive care assessment may have identified earlier, potentially. Okay, so how does this all link with our reviews? Well, where adult safeguarding concerns sit alongside domestic abuse, there may be a need to consider both a safeguarding adult review and a domestic abuse related death review. In these situations, a conjoined approach can sometimes be considered, which is great news because dovetailing the reviews or running them as a combined process can reduce duplication for agencies, for partnerships, and importantly, reduce the burden placed on families. The second national analysis of safeguarding adult reviews identified that reviews involving domestic abuse have increased. So between 2019 and 2023, 16% of those reviews involved or overlapped with domestic abuse, compared to 10% in the previous analysis. And we know that domestic abuse affecting older adults is often under-recognised and responses can sometimes be slower. The increase in safeguarding adult reviews identifying domestic abuse may suggest that awareness and recognition is improving. So in practice, the dovetailing approach often results in separate reports still being produced, with the safeguarding adult review and the domestic abuse related death review running in parallel. It can be a single process. Where the need for two reviews is identified early, it can sometimes be possible to agree a single set of terms of reference and one shared report. And the best opportunity to make these decisions is at the point when terms of reference are being agreed. However, reviews are rarely a linear process. So as information begins to emerge within one review, it may highlight issues that trigger consideration of a second review. And at that stage, partners may need to revisit whether a conjoined approach would be appropriate. So next week, I'll turn to the question of bias, both individual and systemic, and how it might shape the way we recognise and respond to domestic abuse in older adults. Because sometimes the most important learning from reviews is not simply what happened, but how our assumptions shaped what we saw, what we missed, and therefore the why of it happening.